Well, the 76ers are definitely going for it, trading for the number 1 overall pick. We all know that they're going to draft Markelle Fultz to fill up their point guard position. So we can talk about where Philadelphia is going after this move. Let's look at the roster and let's talk about how they could potentially be in a few seasons. And I think what jumps out at me is having two real ball-dominant players in Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz. Everyone in the NBA is looking for one guy who can lead their offense, someone who can be in pick and rolls and go one-on-one, and if there's 7 seconds left in the shot clock and you don't have anything, then you can just give it to your guy and he'll create something out of nothing. 76ers have two of those guys now, with Markelle Fultz as well as Ben Simmons. Of course, we have not seen either one of these guys on the floor, but every NBA scout will tell you that these guys are the real deal. Ben Simmons was drawing comparisons to LeBron James because of his size and passing abilities. And then Markelle Fultz, everybody wants this guy as a point guard, and what this gives you as a team, having two guys who can create like this, it gives you a lot of options. First and foremost, you can have one of these guys on the floor at all times, so your offense will never be too stagnant. You'll always have that one guy who can just kind of run everything for you, so you could plan lineups to where you have Markelle Fultz surrounded by shooters sometimes, and other times you have Ben Simmons surrounded by shooters. And this is when Brett Brown is going to come into play, because Brown has been the 76ers coach for a while now. Is he going to find ways to have both of these guys play together, but also have them run the offense at times themselves? The team that it kind of reminds me of, not as talented of course, but the Cleveland Cavaliers, the team who has LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, two guys who can just attack in isolations. And it's great to just have two players who can just create something out of nothing, pretty much. And the crazy thing is, we're going to dive into their teammates as this video goes along, but I think if you have both of these guys and they're both healthy and they seem to be everything that we think they're going to be, I don't see how Philadelphia could ever have a weak offense once these two really take off. I'm not expecting Philadelphia to win like 45 games in this upcoming season. It's still going to be a process because everybody's got to learn how to win no matter how talented you are. But still, having two guys who can just create things for themselves as well as others, it's a great foundation, and I think that's going to be really the foundation piece of their entire offense. Everything they run is going to be either through Markelle Fultz or it's going to be through Ben Simmons. As far as the rest of it, I think it goes into, like I just mentioned, Brett Brown, but also what is the ceiling of these two guys? There are definitely questions about Ben Simmons shooting, which we are going to touch on in this thing, because this isn't going to just be all positives. There are some concerns I have with these guys moving forward, but when you have an awesome point guard, well, seemingly an awesome point guard of Markelle Fultz, and then another guy who can make offense with Ben Simmons, that's really good. But if we talk about everybody else on this team, you could make the argument that Joel Embiid is more important than both of these guys. The pick and roll offense that you could run with just Embiid and Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons could be great. Having both of those guys being playmakers, sure, Simmons will probably be the better passer than Fultz will be, but Markelle seems to be no slouch when it comes to getting his teammates the ball anyway. I think Embiid will thrive in the half-court setting just with that and that alone. The guy has shown himself to be an awesome athlete, someone who can roll to the rim effectively, and he didn't really have any big-time playmakers this season for Philadelphia, even though he was still awesome. Then you have these two guys, that's going to be great. And then, of course, everything else Embiid does defensively. His defense was pretty insane for a rookie. If you want to call him a rookie, he was technically around the NBA for 2 seasons, but he just wasn't playing. We don't know how good Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons are going to be on defense. We know Joel Embiid is awesome on that side of the floor. And, we've seen the stats of how they were actually, a decent NBA team when he was on the floor. So, hopefully he just keeps on with that, and then you add to that, like, what he's going to do in the low post when it comes to them just dumping the ball off to him, and then his three-point shooting for pick and pop potential. The world of Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid creating offense for themselves, and Embiid being great overall, that's a very real thing. But now, here are the questions. One of which is the power forward position. I don't know if Dario Saric is the right 4 for this team. Now, if he does what's happening in the footage and he makes a bunch of three-pointers, then okay. He shot 31% from 3 this season while attempting about 4 a game. That's not a very good foundation for someone who's going to grow into an awesome shooter. And if you already have Fultz, Simmons, and Embiid, I think your power forward and your shooting guard should be guys who can shoot threes and play defense. I don't know if Dario Saric can do that. He's more of like a dynamic offensive player. Sometimes he has the ball on the open floor. He'll beat the opposing big man off the dribble. He might be an awkward fit for a team that just kind of wants him to spot up and give these guys space. If we're talking about the 2-guard position, I mean, there's Luau Cabaret, who didn't show many signs of being a starter caliber player in his rookie year. Of course, guys can get better, but I don't know if he has the foundation of a three-point shooter or a defensive player. But of course, you got to give the guy more time to see if he can do it. Nick Stauskas finally showed a pulse from outside, but even then, his defense, I don't think he's ever going to be decent on that side of the floor. Then we're talking about Justin Anderson. His defense is a real thing. He's shown himself to be an athlete as well, so I could see him in that sense being okay, but he has shown very little signs of ever being a decent offensive player. And then the last guy would be Robert Covington, who is their best perimeter defender and was a part of the awesome defense with Joel Embiid on the floor. But I see him as more of like a small forward or a power forward coming off the bench. I don't know if he's quick enough to defend NBA shooting guards regularly, but also his three-pointer has been up and down his whole career. Now maybe if he can get himself some more open shots, his percentages could go up, but I'm still not loving him at the 2-guard position. But also the other fear I have, with Markelle Fultz handling the ball at least a decent amount of time, that means that Ben Simmons is going to be playing off-ball. By all accounts, Ben Simmons can't shoot. Is he going to be someone who the defense can just help off of and leave him wide open along the three-point line? Now, if he can learn how to shoot threes, then we're not having this conversation. But if it's going to take him a minute to hit from outside, that could give NBA defenses a pretty good source of, double teaming or perhaps even triple teaming Markelle Fultz or Joel Embiid. But still, the talent is huge nonetheless. I mean, if you have 2 great creators as well as a guy who could be the best center in the NBA if he stays healthy, if the coach is good and the role players are good, these guys could be scary.